the second that you're born, is a bracha. If it's a girl, it's a shechianu. If it's a boy, it's a teva meitiv. And when a person passes away from this world, it's a bracha, baruch dayanemes. Doesn't matter. Every second, here coming in, going out, and during, we're connected to Kodesh Baruch Hu. And that's what he wants. And where are we all running? They make a joke. Kaddish, right? If you ever watch a show, people leave early. So there's a Kaddish Shalem. That means everyone's still in shul. That's after Ashrei Voltzil. Kaddish Shalem, everyone's there. He says, then, after Ashrei Voltzil, a lot of people leave. Who's left? The rabbis. Kaddish D'Rabbanan. He says, there's a couple of minutes still left. Even the rabbis leave. Who's left? Kaddish Yasam. Just the orphans are left, so they have to say Kaddish. What's the rush? Work is a klala. Work is a curse. God said to Adam, I'm cursing you that you have to go to work. You're running to a curse. You're sitting in shul. You're talking to God. You don't have to wait. It's not like you go to a rabbi. You got to wait. You got to know the gabbai. You got to pay him off a little, a cup of wine. Right? You got to have connections, protection. Right? To get to the rabbi, you got to wait. Sometimes 2, 3 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. The never comes, you got to wait. Sometimes 2 days. You don't got to wait here 1 second. You don't got to know nobody. Just walk in the door. Hashem doesn't make you wait. You don't got to you don't have to know anybody. No protection. You can walk in, you can talk to him. Boom. Anytime you want. But we're all waiting and running and connections and this and mekubalim. The biggest mekubal is right here. The one that can really change your life is right here, and you're running out. Hope you don't have to say tachlim today. Because it became a subject. I got to get through Shabbos. Oh no, it's Monday tomorrow. Another 8 minutes, 12 minutes raining. It should be just the opposite. Tomorrow's P.S. Torah. We say 3 more brachos. So what are we going to do about it? So I'm not going to change the system. I can't change the system. I can't change the school system. But I sure can change the home system. The school system is not going to change. I got up, I said, you have no right to mark. There's 2 sides of the report card. There's one that has all the marks in Hebrew on the subjects, and then there's another side to the report card. That side of the report card should stay. Effort, derech eretz, participation in class. That should stay, and that should be marked. Because that's Judaism. And I'd like to put a new one on that side of the page, and maybe things would change. Kibbut of the aim. Imagine if it got a mark. Kids would start actually honoring their parents. And you know who's going to mark that? The parents. Ooh. But the other side of the report card? Gemara? You're going to mark Gemara? Tell your story. So, I'm a Rebbe for 34 years, 8th grade. I teach most of the time Eilmetzius. Somebody loses something, has a simon. I got a boy in my class. Brilliant. He was born with 134, 140 IQ. Brilliant. Those all the Gemara Taisus, Rishayim, Achreinim, backwards, forwards. He is so brilliant, he's going to be a valedictorian. He's the best kid in the class. Aleph, 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 Aleph. He's walking on Avenue J in Brooklyn. He's a big Yankee fan. And he finds a Yankee hat. And he's like, I hope it doesn't have a simon. I hope it doesn't have a simon. If it doesn't have a simon, I can keep it. And he looks in the hat, no name. But the size of the hat is cut. Simon, not a simon. I'm keeping it. That's my Aleph student. Aleph, 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 Aleph. Now, and I got another guy in my class. I don't know, he's probably got about an 85 IQ. He can't remember his own name. His mother puts labels of his name on all the pieces of his clothing. His name is written on the bottom of his shoe in case he forgets. He takes the shoe off and looks at it. Okay? He's not brilliant. But he loves Eilmetzius. He loves it. And he's walking down Avenue J. And near the Yankee hat. And he's like, I hope it has a simon. Because if it has a simon, I could do Hashavas Haveda. And he turns over the hat and there's no name in it. He's like, No. Look at that. The sign is cut. That's a simon. Runs to Landau's, that's our minion factory. Puts up a big sign, magic marker. Found hat. Not telling you what team it is. Ha ha. If you lost a hat on Avenue J, please call me at. Runs to Borough Park, because maybe a guy came from Borough Park, and he's going to every shul, this little kid, he's 13 years old, he's putting up signs in every shul. And then the Jewish press, which goes all over the world, all the United States, has a lost and found. He calls them up. How much is it lost and found to put an announcement? $50. $50, that's my last penny. I don't care. Put it to 50. Okay, I'm sending you the $50. Put it in your lost and found. Now you tell me in this room, who's the Aleph student and who's the Dalet student? The Aleph student in our world today is the kid with the 134, 140 IQ. And no matter how special this child is and how much he believes, and he wants to do Hashavas Aveda, he will fail. He will not even graduate. This is what has happened. Torah has become a subject. And then the girls, it's the same thing. They get a test online, a test of Lachis. There are girls, they're brilliant, and they get hundreds. And there are girls that are not so brilliant, and they get 50s. But the girl who got 50s, every Thursday night, the teacher doesn't know, she makes the potato kugel. She robs it with it. Remember, the poor kid sits there for 40 minutes with the potato kugel on those metal grind. And then the next day, she sets the table for Shabbos. And she helps her mother make challah. And she's fighting with her older brothers if she's allowed to sing Zmiras or it's Kolisha. She loves Shabbos. And she goes to Benos. She loves Shabbos. But on her test, she gets 50s. Failure. The one who's getting hundreds, she hates Shabbos. She doesn't come down to the table. Only when she has to. She's busy reading biology books for her final because she's an excellent student. And she figured out ahead that biology is creation, voracious, Hashem. It's sort of like Torah, you know. She worked it out. She worked it out. So we're not going to change the schools, but we need to change ourselves. And we need to change our children. We need to tell our children that the most important part of Yiddishkeit is that you try your hardest and that you do your best. That's what counts. I almost ended up moving to England because I almost got thrown out of Flatbush a few weeks ago. So I buy flowers for Shabbos. Since I'm 16 years old, my mother said if I shop for Shabbos, she'll let me get a license. Deal. So I've been shopping for Shabbos for a very long time. And so I buy the flowers, and I love flowers. We don't have time to get into the whole thing. I love flowers. And every flower that Hashem created, right, He created for us. And the smell, not that they smell much anymore, but they used to smell, but they're beautiful. There's so many different flowers. Well, there's one flower store in Flatbush that most people buy their flowers. It has hundreds of imported flowers. It has black calla lilies, which is a very unusual flower. It has white calla lilies. It has different colored roses. I'm not going to show off what I know. But I know a lot of flowers. Anyway, I'm always excited. I love to buy. I'm buying flowers for the chassid. Supposed to be the other way around. Right? The chassid supposed to buy flowers for the kala. But guess what? Who created those flowers? The chassid. So I'm sort of just giving him back what he gave me. Really. That's the truth. So, I go into the flower store and I'm always very excited to see all the different flowers this man has. I usually get there around 10 o'clock. That week I got there 4 weeks ago. I got there 4 weeks ago. I got there at 8 o'clock in the morning. There were 3 women in the flower store. They looked like they just hit a wall. They must have just dropped their kids off at school. They were wearing their snoods. They were in a miserable mood. Miserable. And I'm in there and they're like giving the guy in the flower store a hard time. Why do roses go up $2? One lady was saying to him. I'm like, so don't buy it. Like, what are you screaming at the Korean for? You know? They were like miserable moods, these 3. I'm like, I'm going to get him out of this mood. I'm Wallerstein. You know what? I get away with it. So I'm like, there's only 3 there. 3 of me. I'm like, ladies! It's a big store. It's like this big. Big in this room. I'm like, ladies! Do you know that all the flowers in this store were created just for me? Because if there was one person on the world, it'd still be just as many different flowers. There wouldn't be as many flowers. But Hashem, when He created the world, He created it in 6 days. It's all here. And it was for Adam. And if everyone in the world was destroyed, and I was left, Hashem's keeping all the flowers. So like, all these flowers were created for me. So the Korean behind me go, you bought all my flowers? So he was very excited, but I turned to him and I said, no, it's a Jewish thing. Don't worry about it. Buy my regular stuff. I said, ladies, you're buying flowers for showers. You have eyes, Hashem gave you eyes. You can see the colors. You can see everything. This is such a beautiful moment. You can't be in such a mood when you buy flowers for showers. Because guess what? If I wasn't here, the rest of the world wasn't here, all these flowers would be here just for you. And they looked at me like I was totally out of my mind. They all ran out of stuff. No, but honestly, they knew where I was, and they said, you know what, Rabbi Wallerstein, you're right. You're right. Buying flowers for showers, that's not the move to buy flowers for showers. Flowers for showers. Food for showers. When you're making food for showers, chassid. When I buy the fruit for Shabbos, it's also a Korean story. And every piece of fruit that I pick for Shabbos, I say, L'kavod Shabbos Kodesh. This Meshuggah Korean tells every Jew in Flatbush that he has the only kosher fruit in Flatbush. And every person tells him the same thing. Sir, all fruits and vegetables are kosher. And he's like, no. There's a rabbi that comes in every Thursday and he talks to all my That's me. Take your kids shopping for Shabbos. Let your little daughter or son pick out the flowers. Let them pick out the fruit. You want them to be connected to Shabbos? Not chas v'shalom, texting or doing other things you're not supposed to on Shabbos. Connect them. Teach them that it's life. You know why I'm standing up here today? The reason I'm standing up here today is because as a little boy at 7 years old, my father and mother had me and my brother and my sister. My brother was 2 years older but much smaller than I was. And every Friday night we put on a play. Every Friday night my father worked so hard. He traveled from Sunday. He came home Friday at 1 o'clock. And every Friday night he sat after the meal on the couch with my mother. And for 10 minutes, myself, my sister, and my brother would put on a Shabbos play. It worked out good for me because I was bigger than my brother. Okay, that's Yitzchak was a party. You know what he was? He was the chamor. I was just like sitting on him. It worked out perfectly. So, Shabbos to me was, I'm putting on a play. I knew the parsha at 7 years old. Because I was putting on a play about that parsha. Shabbos was life. Sitting around the table, we didn't want to get off the table. We were busy. We had chumash games. We were talking about the whole week. It was a 2.5-hour meal, my father's meal. And after 2.5 hours, maybe 10, 15 minutes with plateaus. The rest was family time. Time to get together with your kids. Everyone's in Friday night, everyone has their face in the soup. So then your kids grow up, they're not excited about Shabbos. What should they be? So because the guy came from the store and he delivered 3 boxes for Shabbos, that's going to excite them for Shabbos. That's what we have that nobody else has. We have life. Yiddishkeit is a life. And we need to take it back. Because Klal Yisrael is losing it. It has become a boring, become a task. Something on our burden. Something on our back. We should be jumping for joy that Hashem wants us to give Him the bracha. When you make a bracha on an apple, you're giving Hashem the bracha. What kind of chutzpah is that? Who am I to give Hashem the bracha? And Hashem says, I want that bracha because I want to be connected. When you eat an apple, give me the bracha. When you're going to learn Torah, give me the bracha. Last segment is very exciting. Wow. How could you not be excited about being given such a present? You're born a Jew. What's in the Shema? It's simple. Every person in this room right now is living in two worlds. Some of you in three, but it's supposed to be in two. A physical world and an emotional world. Every person in this room has emotions, and the emotional world is much stronger than the physical. If you hit somebody, if you kill somebody, Bezin kills you. If you embarrass somebody, you have no place in Olam. Because the spiritual world, that world, the emotional world is much stronger than the physical world. If you hurt somebody emotionally, they will never forget it. I don't have time to go through what I went through in third grade, but I never forgot what happened to me in third grade. I got smacked. I'm 54 years old. Those days, we got smacked. I got smacked from first grade through eighth grade because I ran away from school. 16 times I got smacked. I totally forgot what it feels like. I don't remember. But I will never forget the embarrassment of standing in front of each class and getting smacked. And I will never forget that in 7th and 8th grade, I was only a third grader, when the rabbi took me to 7th and 8th grade and he smacked me, and the 7th and 8th graders were laughing. They were laughing as I was getting smacked. And I remember every single guy that was laughing. And it took me 20 years, and every one of them is dead. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. But I've never forgotten the emotional pain and the embarrassment. And that's why I went into it. I wanted to make sure that never happens to another kid. So the emotional world that you live in is much stronger than the physical. That's your neshama. The neshama is your emotional world. The world that we can't see. I don't know who's happy in this room and who's not. You could smile at me and be very unhappy. You could be not smiling and be very happy. What is going on inside a person's emotion is not measurable. There's no sonogram or MRI that can say, oh, he's happy, she's happy. We can't see it. It's a world that we can't see because it's an emotional world. To every single person, how can you say you don't have a neshama? You know that you feel emotions. And you know that that's not physical. So how can a person deny that world? You can't deny that world. So when a person comes in Apikoros and says, there is no other world, you idiot! You're living in it! What do you mean there is no other world? You're living in the other world! You have emotions, and now that I called you idiot, you're insulted, so you really have emotions. How can you deny it? Every human being is in it. So what happens when a person dies? And a person's body goes to the ground. What happens to their emotions? Where does it go? It doesn't go into the ground. The answer is, it goes back to the world it came from. It goes back to that emotional world. So how come nobody ever came back from the other side? Everybody came back from the other side. All of us in this room are back from the other side. Because that neshama is put back into a guf. And as Isaiah said, that today's day and age, there are no new neshamas. So each one of us, being that we have emotions, and it's not new, means that that neshama that went to the other world is back. So when someone says, well, nobody ever came back from the other world, you, the guy who's telling you that, came back from the other world. It's partial. It's simple. It's not mind-boggling. But nobody ever teaches it to us. So what we need to bring back, and that includes grandfathers, not just fathers. We don't know the power that a Zayda has to his grandchildren. The Holocaust generation had no Zaydas. And even the one after that, few had Zaydas. Today, Baruch Hashem, there are many grandfathers that are alive. Tell a grandchild to give him a compliment, to sit and learn with him, to give him a hug, is so important. And grandparents don't realize, they think it's over when they become grandparents. Wrong. Wrong. What the Zaidi says and what the body says is huge. And I know in many cases where kids were not getting along with their parents, and their grandparents saved their life, spiritually and physically. It is so important. I want to end, I always say to Tula before I come that I should say what you need to hear, not what I need to say. I had all kinds of stories. I was going in a different direction today. But I guess this is what was needed to have been said, so I said it. So I'd just like to leave here with a word of advice. Those who have children, those who have grandchildren, and those who are single. Being that I'm a rabbi, being that I'm out there and I speak a lot, being that I wasn't such a good kid growing up, being that my father was a priest, my mother was a nun. Just kidding. It's very hard for children today because one of the things that children are lacking is self-esteem. Because in a world of competition, most of us cannot be the winner. There's only one winner. And when you try hard and you lose your self-esteem. And that's why a lot of children, a lot of young people, and not such young people, are walking around today very depressed. Because we live in this world of competition when it comes to money, competition when it comes to looks, competition when it comes to grades, and the newest competition when it comes to shidduchim. You have to have a resume. I didn't have no resume. There was no such thing as a resume when you went to get married. Today, you have to send in your resume. So the girls, they'll have to send their resume, and the shot consisted with 80 resumes. And you have to send your picture in, so she decides. It's a competition, Miss Universe. Became Miss America, Miss Universe. All of a sudden, shidduchim, where it used to be, you make a shirt today, you got to send in your resume. And if this resume looks better than this resume and that resume, oh my gosh, what are we doing? Even when it comes to shidduchim, it became a competition. Everything is a competition. Everything. So in that world, if you're not a winner, you're a loser. When I grew up in sports, they said, my coach used to tell me I was a hockey player. They don't do much of that here. Well, my coach used to say, Wallerstein, you need to know something. It's not whether you win or lose. It's how you play the game. Be a mensch. Stop getting the most penalty minutes on the team. Be a mensch. Today, the coach says something very different. It's not whether you win or lose. It's whether you win. There's no room for losing in this generation. It doesn't matter how hard you try. We don't care how hard you try. If you don't win, you're a loser. So there's a huge problem with self-esteem. I've been shot at for many different things my whole life. And the bullets bounce off. I'm talking emotional bullets and insults. In fact, I went to a yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael to speak. My Talmud, my student, was like, Rabbi Wallerstein, everyone has to hear him. And there were a lot of guys in that used to listen to my tapes. They were very excited. And I was coming Erev Yom Kippur. This was Thursday night. Erev Yom Kippur was Friday night. And I came to this yeshiva Erev Yom Kippur for me to speak, right? At 9 o'clock at night, I walked into this yeshiva. And I was supposed to speak at 9:30. I wanted to prepare a little bit. And the yeshiva, I saw him talking to my student, and it's like yelling at my student. So my student comes over to me. He says, Rebbe, we have a problem. I'm like, what's the problem? The yeshiva doesn't want you to speak. Doesn't want me to speak. I didn't say anything yet. He says, no, you don't have a beard. And the rule in yeshiva is you have to have a beard to speak. Okay, and he also said, when he heard you're a businessman, this is the yeshiva where we want everyone to go to Kollel, so he doesn't want you to speak. Meanwhile, the whole yeshiva knew that I was speaking because they had it up on the sign. I'm standing there, I'm like, this is Erev Yom Kippur. Come to my council, I'm here. Erev Yom Kippur, yeshiva. I said, go back to yeshiva. I mean, I can't grow a beard that fast. time I won't. I'm going to talk. I prepared Mamash a pilpul. It's on Tshuva. It's a Hilchos Rambam, Perek Vav. There's no effect that I'm a businessman. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going into any issues. It's just Mamash and Hilchos Tshuva. It's a whole pilpul. Just tell him not to worry about it. Comes back to me. Absolutely not. He doesn't want you to speak. Okay? Now most people would have said, you know what? If that's yeshiva and that's a Talmud Chacham and that's a Rav and he's embarrassing me, like, I'm done with this. I went over to my Talmud. I said, let's go for a walk. I said, don't let this affect you. I am fine. I'm tired anyway. I'm going to the Kaisel. I'm going to Daven. Hashem should be Michael for being Mevayish me. Let it go. And Talmud went totally off the derech. Today he's not from. Totally. There was nothing that I could tell him. He was so angry and so upset. His mom is not from. I'm still in contact with him. And what this man did to him destroyed him because for 3 days he's Rabbi Wallerstein, Rabbi Wallerstein. He got all this. He looked like such a fool. Wiped him out. But I have no problem with it. And I'll tell you why. And this is something you can give your children. My father, had 3 children. Me, my brother, and my sister. He was a very hard-working man. But there was one thing he always told us. He said, I davened for you 3 for a very long time to have you. There is nothing greater in my life than my kids. Nothing. You are the most important thing in my life. And we knew, growing up, the 3 of us, that we were the greatest thing that ever happened to our parents. And if you know that, don't care what anyone else says. You are wearing a bulletproof vest. If your imam and your Allah tell you, not just through words, but through action, that you are the greatest thing that ever happened to me. Not my business, not my friends, not my cell phone, my internet, nothing. You, my Kindlech, the greatest thing that ever happened to me. You will protect them from the most terrible things in life. They are bulletproof. It doesn't matter what anyone tells them. You're a failure, you'll never make it. I don't care what you think. My mommy and my tati think I'm the greatest thing that ever happened. What a nice life, man. Every parent has the koyach to do that for their child. Every mother and every father has the koyach to tell their child before they go to sleep, listen, children, listen, Chaim, you need to know something. I might be busy, but all that stuff doesn't mean anything. You are the most important thing in my life. The child goes to sleep at night with that. The child wakes up in the morning with that. He is bulletproof. Nobody can hurt him. He doesn't need to win. He knows that his parents think is the greatest thing that ever happened. He's no longer in the race. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Everyone in this group needs to know. What is Judaism? God. Kadosh Baruch Hu, Shekhinah, Hashem, says every single day, my children, the Jewish nation, is the greatest thing that ever happened to me. And Klal Yisrael turns back to Hashem and says, and you, Hashem, are the greatest thing that ever happened to us. And that's Judaism. That's Yiddishkeit. And that's what makes it so special. Don't ever forget that. That's all.
Baruch, on behalf of Torah Action Life and everybody over here, we wish you a big bracha, v'atzlacha, b'chol ma'aseh Hashem mechayil el-chayil. We're going to be having some refreshments at the back shortly, and Kaddish for us, Rabbi Hanan.